Welcome to Medical Spa Mastermind. I'm your host, Kathy Christensen. And our guest today is someone who has excelled not just in the clinical realm of what she does so very well, but she's also an educator, and she has taken a lot of initiative to learn more about business and leadership to the point where she's recently gotten her doctorate. We'll talk about that. But first of all, let me tell you a little bit about our guest. Grace Mclaurin, PAC, has been injecting for 20 years, and she's been one of the most requested Allergan Medical Institute trainers and speakers nationally. She's on the faculty of Injectability Institute training. She's also a speaker and trainer for MedShift, teaching advanced PRP and Privy injection techniques. She's the founder of Vitality Anti-Aging Center, Vitality Surgical Center, V Infusion Center, and Aesthetic Consulting and Training. She's had numerous training programs for the aesthetic and wellness industry. She has extensive knowledge and experience teaching not only injectables, but PRP, PDO, PLLA, threads, sclerotherapy, everything you can think of, longevity, medicine, weight management, bioidentical hormone replacement. She also teaches the other side of the spectrum: team building, business development, risk management, all the good things that I love to talk about. She's a certified Ziegler Legacy speaker and is certified in the DISC model of human behavior. I'm an SI, by the way, Grace. She has worked with businesses to help organize and motivate their teams. She's certified by the NCCPA and is a member of the AAPA, NCAPA, and NC Medical Society. And she's also a doctor. She recently earned her doctorate in medical sciences, healthcare administration. We'll talk about that. But please welcome Grace Mclaurin.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. One thing I will say in the intro, I no longer am on the faculty at Injectability, not for anything bad, just I was so busy with my training center and training for Galderma and Allergan. I didn't feel like Leslie's a dear friend, that I could give her the service that she needed. So I did resign from that position, but they are wonderful. I highly recommend Injectability to anybody that really wants to learn something. So I just wanted to make that correction.
Absolutely. You've just done so much in your career, and thank you for the correction. Grace and I, we were pen pals for a while, I feel like.
A long while.
A long while. It was really strange. We, in former positions, we did a lot of emailing and conversing back and forth. But Grace, I don't think we actually ever met until last year in person.
Yep. Exactly. That was the first time ever, which was so funny because, for years we had conversed, and then finally I got to put a face to this name.
Yes, I felt the same way. It's like, we picked up just right, exactly, like we had known each other for years. So I'm so grateful to have you on the podcast today, Grace. I can't wait to pick your brain. But you've been in this industry for a little while now, and it's an interesting, from my perspective, it's an interesting, evolving, ever-changing industry. You not only excel in clinical and in education and training, but you also have this other side of you with the business aspect, which is relatively unique. A lot of people really feel a strength in one or the other. Is there one that you lean more towards? Is there one that you prefer, or is it a beautiful mix?
I think it's been a great marriage of the two. I think as I'm getting older and have been in this industry specialty since 2000. I think I find now today that more of my interest is in the training and then in the business end of it. I like to help businesses grow. I like to see our business grow, trying to be creative, and I get bored quickly. So I think being in the business end helps me always be doing something brand new. And so while I still work in the clinical end, I've cut back on my clinical end of work, and I am doing more in the business end now.
That's wonderful. Now, tell me, your experience with DISC and how you use it. I actually recently I've done a number of personality tests, but I recently had one going into the Confidence Bar, which is, where I'm working now. And I found out that I am an SI. And it's really
ID. So
what are you?
ID.
You're an ID. Yeah. Okay. Very good. So tell me how you like work with the practices to bring this in, and what's the best way? So for those of you who don't know, and I'll actually let Grace because she will be able to explain it better, but it's a personality assessment. The assessment helps you in this instance kind of look at your team members and figure out how to best work with them. But tell me more, Grace, about DISC and how you are able to not just take the personality assessment, but utilize it when you're working with your team.
Yeah, DISC has been so practical for us, and I've taken multiple personality tests, and across the
Yeah.
board, I always test the same way. And so it kind of looks at the different personality aspects, whether somebody is extroverted, introverted, whether they're task driven or people driven. And it how we use it multiple ways. One, it helps, I think, my team understand each other and it helps them
Mm,
communicate better because sometimes you just meet those people who are the exact opposite personality type. And it's
yes.
just like you have such a hard time communicating and you feel like that person doesn't like me or I just can't deal with this person. And really, it's everybody's fine. You're just speaking two different languages. So I think when we
Uh-huh.
understand all those different personality types, we're able to alter how we speak to that person. And it's helped me so much with patience. We did a thing
Mm.
for a long time where people that were coming in the door, my staff the people up front would try to guess what their personality was. And they know, like, for me, the hardest personality for me to communicate with, because I'm a very direct
Uh-huh.
person, I'm outgoing, extroverted, there's no introverted part of me. For like that C personality, which is very analytical and introverted, I had a very hard time talking to them. I think my personality overwhelmed them, their personality exhausted me. And so, there was always a sign that they'd look at me and they go, when it was a C and like poking their eyes out. And so it's helped. But I have a partner here who he is a C personality. So putting those
Oh.
two together, so it's helped with patients, it's helped with staff. We use it as well for hiring before we hire anybody, because if I'm hiring for a front desk person, I can't have a quiet analytical
Mhm.
C personality up there because nothing gets done. I need an I need a D, type person. And our nursing staff, S's are great because they're very sweet, they're peacemakers, so we look at the different, and there's a place for every personality out there. I think in the business aspect, a D personality is what you need. And, I have that D. I'm just direct, get to the point. And so I think it helps get the right people in the right seat because we had some issues at one time. What my front office manager is, for example, is a very high S. And so she was
Uh-huh.
hiring a lot of S's up front, but then patients were complaining because they
Hmm.
thought this person was shy and quiet, and it wasn't. She was wonderful. All of them were, but I finally had to go to my front office manager and was like, hire me, hire somebody like me
Yes.
to sit in that seat. I need somebody that can talk to a tree, not that
Yeah.
can't look out from their paper. So that's where we use it. So, I think when you have the right person and the right seat in their job, you have longer retention of your employees because it's not putting a square peg in a round hole. They fit in their position and they're much happier.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that's a realization at a certain point in business where you're like, it really does take all kinds to run a successful business.
Absolutely.
And it's not, you don't want clones of yourself. You actually don't want that. So if someone were to want to bring into this DISC assessment or other assessments, specifically DISC, how would they get started? Where do you find that?
We offer it through our office, through the training academy, which is aesthetic consulting and training on
Uh-huh.
Instagram, @_aesthetic training. And so we can do that with management teams. We can do it with the entire team. We can do it with an individual. Me and my partner in the training center are both certified in DISC
Oh, great.
assessments. And so we've done team building days involving DISC, and people really love it because they like to understand why they are who they are and what makes them tick and what makes others tick. And all of a sudden you see all these light bulbs going off, because like, that's why we had that problem. It's always a really fun thing to do. And so we do a lot of work with it. phenomenal products. Howard Partridge, he does a lot of work with it. He's out of Destin, Florida, and out of Houston. He's actually my business mentor and amazing. And so I have that contact information. Anybody could reach out to me for his information as well.
Perfect. Well, that's awesome. I totally agree with you from every aspect to better know. Now, I'm curious though, do you ever test your patients? You mentioned like you guys guess,
Yeah.
but did you ever test your patients?
I've never tested a patient. It would be fun to do. We do,
Yeah.
yes. I've done this long enough that I'm pretty good talking to
Yeah.
somebody to figure out. Everybody's majority too, and sometimes I'll be off on that second one, but I'm always almost always dead on the first part. You can just tell when they walk through the door. You have that person like, "Hey, everybody," or you have
Yeah.
somebody who stands in the background looking around. You right there know, what a big portion of it. So, yeah, we're pretty good at being able to figure out who they are.
Is there, so you just said like a D personality is great for front desk. Are there other personalities that really stand out in success in positions like an injector personality? Is there an ideal or in, your marketing person, are you looking for something? I'm just
Right.
curious if there are some that are like, 9 times out of 10, this one really excels in this position.
Yeah, I think an injector, I think if you have like an ID or an IC personality, and IC is kind of rare, but that C, even though it's a little more introverted, is very analytical in the way they think. They're a little bit slower. I always say they're the why, the why, the why person.
Yeah.
A D person can be direct, so they're usually very good with consults, but they need that I, so they're outgoing and can talk and relate to people well. An IS is also a good person because that S personality is very sweet and understanding and patient. So I think they've got to have a little bit of one of the outgoing personalities, specifically an I, because they're just more fun-loving, life of the party type people. They want to be your friend. And I think making that kind of connection, you want your patients to view you, I think, as a friend because we are friends in a certain way. Maybe not friends to go to
Mm-hmm.
dinner, but we're friendly, we're friends. And I think that promotes loyalty long term as well. I think if you're looking at somebody in marketing, probably more maybe a C personality because they pay a lot of attention to detail.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a detail person. When we first opened up our business in 2006, I printed out all the brochures and I even had other people proofread it, but I'd hired a bunch of people like myself, IDs, and nobody caught that the phone number I put was my home number. And all of a sudden, all these
Oh,
people are calling my house for appointments. So I'm
whoops.
like, yeah, well, how'd you get this number? Well, it's on the brochure. So we had to trash all our first brochures. So, yeah,
Yeah, no, that's really, and for reference for our listeners, D is dominance.
yeah,
It's disc, DISC. So D
right,
is dominance, I is influence, C is conscientiousness, and S is steadiness. So
right,
when Grace is saying it's an I personality or a D personality,
right.
that's what it means. Just an
And D's and
FYI.
I's tend to be very extroverted. A D is an extroverted task focused person, and I is a extroverted people focused. And then your S is introverted people, and C is introverted task. Is another way to
Awesome.
look at it. Yeah,
So much fun and so useful. I think
it
it's so
is.
useful.
It's
So
very useful.
it's almost like one of those rare win-wins that I think a business operator can do because
Right.
it's fun for the person taking it too.
Yeah.
So we will be right back after these messages.
This episode is sponsored by Growth 99, the med spa industry's leading digital marketing platform. Growth 99 has helped over 1,000 aesthetic and elective wellness practices grow through powerful digital marketing. Leading practices trust Growth 99 for services including marketing automation, beautiful websites, paid media, and SEO. Visit www.growth99.com today to learn more, or click the link in our show notes.
And now back to our episode. Well, very good. I'm going to shift gears with you, Grace. You've
Okay.
been in this industry for a little bit now. Tell me,
Yeah.
I want to know how you
2000.
got here. Like, what did, right when you got out of school, is this something you always knew you wanted to do, be a PA, or talk to me about how you got here?
Well, I started out wanting to go to medical school and then ditched that idea to get married and quickly had
Uh-huh.
three children within 32 months.
Wow.
Yeah. And then my ex-husband and I moved to where I live now, and I was within an hour of Wake Forest, Bowman Gray School of
Uh-huh.
Medicine. And I looked into going back to medical school, but it was really just too much to do with three small children. I mean, all under
Uh-huh.
the age of three at that point. And so the PA program just it gave me the ability to get into medicine and do what I wanted to do and have some autonomy. And so I went back to school at the ripe old age of 29 and commuted an hour and a half each way every day. And
Oof.
that's what I did. And it has been a great fit for me. And I have loved what I've done. I've been a PA for 30, coming up on 31 years. And it's been amazing.
Congratulations. And how did you get so how did you get from becoming a PA to specializing in medical aesthetics?
So I started out, I had a job and I was the first PA for five general surgeons, which wasn't,
Okay.
I love them all, but they did not know what to do with me. They said I was one wife for five men. And I was like, look, I
Oh
just got
boy.
rid of one husband. I don't need five more. So I then left and went to the ER. And I loved ER medicine. I worked in the ER for 5 years and then they changed the staffing company and I had to find another job. And at that point, I went into women's health and internal medicine. And all of a sudden, things were, and she was very forward thinking gynecologist. And she had a small day spa. And there were some things like sclerotherapy that were becoming
Uh-huh.
popular. And lasers were just, laser hair removal was just becoming popular and IPL. So we started doing some of that. And then Botox came out. And I just felt like for total health, complete well being, we needed, especially working in a women's clinic, as females, you have to feel good on the inside and look good on the outside to really have a good day. Just like if we have
Uh-huh.
a hair day, our whole day sucks because our hair looks bad and we're conscientious about it. So,
Uh-huh.
self-conscious about it. So anyway, that's kind of where it started. And then I started really learning about some functional medicine as well. And I just wanted to expand. I wanted to expand so I could offer to men. And so in
Mhm.
2006, I left that job and opened my own business, which and we mix. We do a little bit of primary care still because some of my primary care patients didn't want me to leave.
Mm.
We do a lot of aesthetics, and then we do a fair amount of functional medicine as well.
That's amazing. You're primed and ready for this new iteration. So your business has been around for 20 years this
For
year.
20 years. Yes, we turned 20 this month, actually. So, yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's
Yes, thank you.
incredible. You've been
Yeah.
through it all. You've been through COVID, you've been through 2008, you've been through
Yes.
everything.
Everything. And in 2008, I swore I'd never go through anything like that again. I said, if it ever, anything like this happens again, I used to call my mother and say, this has to be what it feels like to die.
Oh,
And it was awful. And then here came COVID. And I'm like, and I told them then we closed. We did have permission because we do some primary care. I could have stayed open as an essential business, but I chose not to. And we
hmm.
closed, but we did some telemed and we did, skincare that we would ship and stuff. And I told the few staff members that did work, I said, look, we've never had a 0 day since day one, and I'm not planning on starting now. If that means you have to buy something today. And
Yeah.
we've got to have a 0 day in 20 years.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Wow,
from
what an
day one.
accomplishment.
Yeah, yeah.
Congratulations. Do you feel like have you given yourself a chance to celebrate?
We're having a huge party in June, so that'll be
Uh-huh.
fun. I just, it's sort of a surreal thing to me because I still, there are days that I still feel like we're new, because
Uh-huh.
every day as a business owner is a different struggle. And
Yes.
so some days I feel like, oh my gosh, we should have this figured out by now. And, or we'll get there. We just keep trying. But I think we realize in business that long that you're always going to have potholes and crap thrown at you from the economy to whatever it may be. And we're seeing, so many little pop-up businesses and
Yes.
everybody trying to get into this and, and they don't profoundly affect your business, but they can affect your business a little bit because you do have some of those price shoppers out there and they don't care how long somebody's been doing something. If the price is
Mm-hmm.
cheaper, they're going to go. And then we end up seeing them back to handle problems and issues. And, but I call them ankle biters, but I
Yeah.
was probably an ankle biter one day myself, and some of them will make
Mm-hmm.
it. So you have to start somewhere. But it's just, there's so much dilution in the market right now, and that's
Mm-hmm.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is true. And I'm hearing a lot about that kind of saturation in the
Yeah.
marketplace. But you're right. Like it's not like these challenges are ever going to go away. There will
No.
always be new waves of whatever it is. So how do you strengthen your mindset as a business owner to kind of put your blinders on and focus on what you're doing and not get too in your head about these
Yeah.
things?
I think the biggest thing, and I learned it early on, is I used to worry, what's everybody else doing? What's everybody thinking?
Yes.
Just all kinds of things. And I think and that's normal when you first start out. I think you have to get to where your focus is on your business. You turn off all the noise. I mean, obviously, social media wasn't around when I first started out, and that's a horrible thing. I think recently we've seen some of the tragic effects that social media can have
Mm-hmm.
on people. And I try to, I mean, obviously it's a necessary evil.
Mm-hmm.
I have to do some. I make my partner do as much. I stay off of it as much as I can. Um, and I just have to focus on what we're doing. And as long as we're doing okay and we're keeping the lights on and we're making payroll and there's a little bit of money, um, I think we're good. And so I just am not worried about what other people are doing, only that we're doing our best and how we can grow and how we can be leaders and offer the best of the best within our business. And everybody else will have to worry about themselves.
Yeah, agreed. Is there
Yeah.
ever a time that you do see like over and over and over again something that is affecting your business, and at that point in time do you address it? And I can't think of a great example, but maybe if someone down the road is offering, so for example, I have a friend in the industry that was kind of telling me that she never wanted to do laser hair removal, never ever wanted to do it,
Right.
and hadn't done it. And then she was about at her fifth or sixth year, and she decided to survey her patients on where they were, like, what were they going elsewhere for. And it
Right.
was like 80% were leaving for laser hair removal. So then she decided, even though I don't like it and I don't want, it's obviously a need and it will help. So
Right.
has ever happened to you where you're like, this is people are leaving my facility to go get this thing that I can
Yeah.
bring in myself?
Cool sculpting.
Ah,
And, that was one that you had to bring in.
yeah.
Um, and then all of a sudden the market became so saturated. That would
Um,
be one of the biggest ones that I can think of that is like that. Um, it's a great treatment, but they just sold to every single person that they possibly could. And,
uh,
there are only so many people that want to come in and have cool sculpting. And it's also a treatment that once you finish your series, you really don't need to do it again. And,
hmm
unless you want to do another area. So it's not a huge repeat business,
hmm
type investment either. I waited and then we did do it. And I mean, we've done well with it, but would I do it again? I tell our provider that does it, I'm like, just run that machine until it breaks. But when it breaks, I'm not
uh,
replacing it.
uh-huh. Well,
Yeah.
and that I was talking to somebody else about that recently, about how that was the thing. And now GLP-1s and all
Yep.
of that has really kind of changed it. But I'm curious in my mind and what I know, which is limited about cool sculpting, is can it be used to help once the weight is lost to help improve how you actually look
If
after the
people
weight is
have
lost?
stubborn areas of fat that still remain, like sometimes they'll have some flank fat or,
Uh-huh.
bra roll fat, yes, it can be used in those. And I think that's where it works best is in those little spot treatments. I don't think it's a
Hmm.
great treatment for like debulking somebody. So oftentimes if they lose weight and then they still have some, retained fat because we can't pick where we lose it,
Right.
it works well for that. It doesn't do much as far as like any kind of skin tightening or anything.
Yes.
And so you have to make sure that it's fat and not a lot of loose skin that people are dealing with after the GLP-1s, because so many are losing weight so rapidly on GLP-1s, that they're not only losing their fat, they're losing muscle. And so,
Hmm.
you know, that may be a place where some other treatments work better, or they need to get into the gym and, start toning.
Hmm.
Some people need surgical skin removal.
Hmm. So that kind of brings me to your functional medicine aspect in our arm. Is that something that just naturally kind of started to become under what you offered because of your OBGYN kind of background? Have you always had an interest in it, or because I know right now it's like all you hear about in the industry?
Yeah, when I worked in women's health, she was very, like I said, forward thinking, and we were doing a lot of bioidentical hormone replacement then. And so I got very interested in it. And then
Uh-huh.
me personally went through menopause at 37 years old.
Oh,
And
God.
when something like that happens to you, all of a sudden, I used to hear women come in and talk about their hot flashes. I'm like, okay, you're hot, turn on a fan. Then I found out in Snowshoe, West Virginia, what a hot flash was about. And I'm outside in a tank top and Uggs, and that's it, trying to cool off and thinking I was going crazy. And so when it happens to you, you become somewhat more interested in it. And so I was anxious to learn everything I possibly could about hormones and thyroid and our whole endocrine system. And it's really funny because when I was in PA school, endocrinology was my least favorite thing. I hated it. And now it's one of my most favorite areas of medicine. And we do a lot of work with the endocrine system. And so that's kind of where it started. And then I think as I got more into the aesthetics and as things have progressed, throughout the years, we look at the regenerative type and of medicine that's out there, and so many things that are coming. I mean, Sculptra back in the day, I mean, that was revolutionary, and I've been
Yes.
injecting that since 2006. And, so I think that and hormones, all of those things started that whole regenerative movement. And
Uh-huh.
I think that that's where the future of aesthetics lies.
Yeah, I think, tell me why is that something where we are growing into? And I think I know the answer, but I'd love to hear what you think.
Well, I think we're out of that phase of over in the aesthetic realm that overcorrected. We went through
Yes.
a real period of time where, I mean, I had a patient come and go, I want big fake lips. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't do big fake lips. We'll do them as big as we can for proportion to your face, but, because they're your walking billboard. So we've gone from
Uh-huh.
the big fake lips to now people want a more natural but healthy look. And I think people have become more educated about their own health care as well.
Hmm.
And they want to take a more preventive approach to health care. And we still do traditional medicine as well. But I think if you can prevent disease rather than treating disease is a much better way to do it. And I think that the general public agrees with that. I don't think insurance companies and big pharmaceutical companies agree with that. But I think that if we can help people prevent, and like I said, as long as they're healthy inside and they look good outside, then they have that complete sense of well-being and they just feel good about themselves and life, and they have energy to run around and do what they want to do.
Yes.
And we're living longer and people want to be healthy and feel good.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Nobody wants a crappy old age, right?
Right.
I mean, I would live forever if I felt great and if I was
Right.
able to do what I need to do,
Right.
and want to do. That's amazing. Um, so Grace has always kind of been my PA guru. The medical aesthetic industry, I believe, has less than 20%, at least as of probably last year, less than 20% in the industry providers are PAs. It's definitely a growing number though. And PAs are different than NPs and RNs, especially in their credentialing and things like that. But how does it feel to be a PA rep in this industry?
Yeah, I've liked it, and I was one of the first ones in the industry. Mary Beth Hagan swears through her research that I was the other than like in people doing research that I was the first PA injecting in the country, and I like it. Some of my PA friends tell me I've gone to the dark side, and I'm like, it's not the dark side, it's the fun side,
Yes.
and I think people forget that our skin is our largest organ and we need to take care of it. And, I think that in aesthetics, not only are we helping take care of the largest organ, we're also helping people with their mental health because when they feel better about
Yes.
themselves, and I think when people feel better about themselves, I think we help with their health in general because they want to be healthier. And
Hmm.
so it is a real health specialty. I think, unfortunately, aesthetics hasn't been identified because there's no real, there's no certifying body
Hmm.
and that's we could have a whole talk on that and the work that's
Uh-huh.
being done in that area. But until there becomes it's recognized as a true specialty in medicine, I feel like that we all struggle. And I think that sometimes that's why maybe PAs who come from, we're trained in the medical schools, whereas nurse practitioners are trained in their own programs and they're trained with a nursing type background. There's still, I mean, I would never say that a PA is better trained or knows more. I think we're
Hmm.
equally trained. I think
Hmm.
the way we go about we're taught differently, but we're still reaching the same goal. And so I think some PAs, it's hard for them to maybe they think that aesthetics is beneath them. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting to watch the PAs in the space because it does seem like there is awareness that's growing that this is an option.
Yeah.
And you're a pioneer in the industry. I know of some great PAs in the industry that love what they do, but it's different. Your credentialing is different too, isn't it? Your amount of hours and types of hours and things like that
Yeah,
that you need
we
to
yeah we
maintain.
every 2 years we have to maintain 100 hours of continuing ed, and 50 of that has to be Category 1, which is, the highest level of continuing education that you can get. And then we have to recertify. It used to be every 6 years, and they changed it a few years ago to where now it's every 10 years, but we do have to take a recertifying exam, the big exam to make sure that we're staying up to date. So I think that it makes us, and I don't think nurse practitioners have to recertify. I think
Mm.
once they've passed their boards, they don't have to do a recertifying. They do have a certain amount of continuing ed that they have to do, but they don't have to recertify.
Now, tell me, I know there was some drama about physician assistant versus physician associate, and the drama is just coming from the physicians themselves, I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah,
Um, I recently heard someone refer to, in a court of law, refer to a physician associate.
yeah.
Has that been officially accepted
It's
by,
the AAPA has officially accepted it, but there's still, I don't think on a lot of state levels it's been accepted. And I think that there's some
mm,
gray area with us using that terminology. I see some people that use it, some that don't. It was interesting to me just a couple weeks ago. I was in training and there was a nursing assistant that was there. And she told me that, and the trainer, that she had worked as a physician assistant for years with a doctor and was trained by the doctor.
oh,
And so I think that that's where the assistant term, because she was like a medical office assistant
yes,
and didn't understand. And so when people say physician assistant, I think they oftentimes get the impression that we're there handing the instruments or,
yes.
going in and don't understand exactly what it is we do. And so I do think a physician associate does explain better what we do, but some physicians don't like that because they think that it's like promoting ourselves to a level higher than what we really are. And I back in the day had a doctor in the ER said if PAs want to be doctors, they need to go to medical school, and I've never, that's not what I needed to do. And this has been,
Hmm.
I know my position and I know my limitations, and I'm not going to do surgery, but I'm certainly adequately trained to do the primary care that I do and the aesthetics that I do and train others how to do it. And
Mhm.
so yeah, it's an interesting place to be. I tell people I interviewed for the North Carolina Medical Board. They have a physician assistant seat on the medical board several years
Uh-huh.
ago. And I made it to the final three in the interview process. And when I sat down, there were two people on the review committee that I had trained, two doctors that I had trained how to
Oh,
object. And the third person that questioned me started asking questions. One of the questions was, so when you're not traveling around the country teaching people how to make people pretty, when do you see real patients?
oof.
And, you know, so I immediately let her know, and I ended by saying, and if it's not real medicine, why are two of you sitting here that I trained? And you could see them squirm. They thought I was going to out them, I think, and I knew I wasn't getting the position. So I just let everybody know exactly what I thought of that question. And, I think people don't realize that we have to know medicine. We have to know systemic illnesses. We have to know medications. We have to know all of that. And so I
Hmm.
don't feel like I sacrifice my PA education to do aesthetics. And I,
Hmm.
I, I do keep my hand in medicine, by doing some primary care. And we spend a lot of time with our patients and we treat the whole patient. And
Hmm.
I find a lot of autoimmune illnesses now with injectables, people who come back with
Hmm.
nodules and things or have been sent to me from elsewhere. And we do an autoimmune workup and you wouldn't believe the amount of autoimmune illnesses that we diagnose. So I think
Well,
there's a place for it.
and the amount of, like you said, the amount of kind of mental health that you're paying attention
Yeah.
to, the amount of functional medicine you're paying attention to. I will say, I think the PAs in this space are second to none. And even in my own personal life, I
Yeah.
oftentimes would rather go to a PA than a doctor anyway, because, PAs have personalities and
Yeah.
actually listen to you, which is a huge difference sometimes from a traditional medical
Yeah.
setting.
And I think
So,
especially where medicine is today, where people, doctors, and depending on the practice, the PAs too, are so pushed to see so many patients,
yes.
because the reimbursement is so low, that they don't have the time to spend with patients, and especially the physicians who may be managing 5 PAs too in that practice. you know, they half the time know what they're going to do before they go in and even talk to the patient. And so we are
Yeah.
given the luxury. And I'm somebody like, I didn't love telemedicine because when I can sit
Hmm.
with that patient one-on-one, I just sometimes get that gut feel with a patient that we need to talk about this. Let's forget about what you're here for. I need to ask you more questions about this. And, we find things that are wrong
Hmm.
with people. And I need to see them. I need to talk to them and be around them to know that. And, I think that when we're running in and we have 5 minutes with a patient and we can talk about one problem, that's bad healthcare.
Yeah. No, I agree. And actually, I had spoken with Stephen Soar recently. I don't know if you know him, but
Yeah,
he said
I love him.
I know, he said the exact same thing about telemedicine. He
Yeah.
was just like, it doesn't allow me to do my job very well. So,
No, you can't. And I really, with AI and everything out there, I really fear that that's where we're going.
yeah. Yeah.
And it's an interesting time in medicine. I always tell people I'm glad I'm at the end of my road instead of just starting out. But the changes that I've seen, like I said, I was around when we advertised in the yellow pages and the local newspaper.
Yes, I remember.
Yes, there was no social media, very little internet. You had a website, and that was about it.
Uh-huh.
Um, it's such a huge change.
Yeah, and the amount of change.
Oh,
I was reading somewhere that the amount of change that people like us, our age, Gen X, has been through, like in the decades that we've been like productive adults, has been
right.
more than like since the beginning of time.
Yeah, it's insane, and
Hmm.
just and how fast it's happening. And like I say, I can't imagine where it's going to be, 20 years from now.
I'm not sure I want to imagine
Well, I'd
it.
probably be dead, so I
Oh, stop. You're gonna live forever.
won't know. So
If
only
you
as long
want
as
to.
I can get around and take
Yeah.
care of myself.
That's right. That's right. So I'm curious, you have really kind of driven your own career, at least from external. I can see that you're a decisive person. You know what you want to do. Have you had mentors that have helped you along the way?
Absolutely. I've had a lot of mentors along the way. Um, I've had business mentors like the Ziegler Association,
Mm-hmm.
Howard Partridge, are great business mentors of mine. I think David Sadat has been a huge
Mm-hmm.
mentor of mine. Leslie Fletcher was a mentor of mine, still is. There are a lot of people out there. We had a surgical center for a while and we had surgeons coming from Beverly Hills, and my business partner there, who unfortunately passed away unexpectedly in
Oh,
2021. He was a huge mentor
sorry.
of mine, and he was like me. He just loved to always start new things, and we were partners in crime. And it was always, let's do this. Okay, that sounds great. Let's do it. But I've always operated. The only way you fail is to never try.
True. That's
Yeah,
true.
yeah,
So, how do you find a good mentor? If you're in the space, there are a lot of people that are, this is a funny industry because it's
yeah.
either oversaturated or there are no peers within 100 miles of you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think and right now we're in a situation, and we're actually getting ready to do a webinar with Lori Robertson about it. Is
Mm,
so much people are so wanting to do online training,
mm-hmm,
and you can't learn to be an injector online.
mm-hmm,
You can learn some foundational stuff. You can, things like that, but you can't even understand anatomy unless you've actually been in a cadaver head. You can see pictures all day long, but unless you see it in 3D and you inject into it, you can't understand it. So I
mm-hmm,
think that you need to find really, really good hands-on training. I'm just a huge proponent of that. You
mm-hmm.
cannot, you just cannot do this online. Um, and I think that through that training, you find trainers that like to be mentors. Like I love to be
Ah,
mentors, a mentor to people. I always tell people that, once I train you, I feel like you kind of own part of me, like I'm your mother,
yeah.
so you got to call home every now and then and let me know how you're doing. And, because I've put a piece of me into them. And so I am always available to anybody that I work with and anybody else. I mean, I have people call me all the time with questions. You don't know me, but and I think you just want somebody that's easy to communicate, that doesn't ever make you feel less than, because you're not. I mean,
Mm-hmm,
the fact that you
mm-hmm,
want a mentor and that you're willing to ask a question shows how, I still have to call people and ask questions all the time.
uh-huh.
So I think finding somebody that has good mentors themselves, because if they can't answer the question, they have a group of people that they can go to get the answer for you. And I think there are a lot of great people out there willing to mentor other people. You just want to find
Yeah.
there are a lot of people too that are just getting in the industry that think they're a mentor in 6 months. And so you have to be careful who you choose as your mentor. But I think there's some really great mentors out there.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I was speaking with Taylor Stevens. I don't know if you know her.
Yeah,
She's
I
out of
do.
Dallas.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's so bright. And she was saying, this was interesting to me because I hadn't heard this before, but she's like, and it makes perfect sense, as I grow in my career, my mentors change.
yeah,
But and it was an interesting comment because it's self-awareness that if you don't have mentors that are challenging you, you'll probably not be able, I mean, you'll be able to grow if you want to, but it'll be a lot more difficult. If you have
yeah.
mentors that are like keeping you like in your basic form as opposed to like your evolved form, how do you then decide who to network with to get you to the next level?
Right.
But
And
that
you
takes a
want
lot of self-awareness and all that.
absolutely. I think you want to be with mentors that are constantly getting training themselves. I tell people I spend a ton of
Yes.
money on my own training. You don't ever, this is a journey. This is not a destination. You don't ever reach the point where you're trained enough, because it is such a fluid specialty. And we didn't have mentors. There was nothing.
Yes.
There was no
Yes.
training. There were no conferences. There was nothing when you wanted to get trained. I remember when I got trained on Restylane, they came and dropped a DVD off at the office and said, watch this, and then you can start ordering. And that was a level of training. And I look at my patients that still come to me, and I'm like, I can't believe you still come to me. Because, it was like we did crazy stuff back then, and we had no idea about complications and occlusions and the importance of anatomy. And, it's crazy to think what we did back then, but then you look at some of the things we're doing now. It's crazy to think about some of the things we do now too.
Yeah, no, it's true. Actually, speaking of that, like if you were to go back to like your very beginning, like when you first started out on your own, what do you think you did really, really well, like that really set you up for a 20 plus year business? And what did you learn very quickly that you didn't do well? If you had to tell like baby Grace again,
Yeah.
like at the very beginning, hey, do these things, don't do these things, what would they be?
One, don't believe everything you're told. I mean, all the sales reps and laser reps and everything come in and they're going to tell you all these great things and you
Yes.
can do this and you can do that. And you really need to listen to your gut and know what you can do and what you can't do. Um, I think that you have to listen to yourself. If something, just because somebody, again, like I said, told you to do it, if it doesn't feel right, it doesn't look right, don't do it. There's other ways
Hmm.
to learn things. But I look back and I think, we went by templates and things like that and packing 2 and 3 syringes of filler and nasolabial folds. And yeah, but we didn't know what we didn't know. I quickly
Yeah.
started, I've always been, I guess, a little bit of a cowboy and that I don't mind experimenting a little bit. And so I'm like,
Uh-huh.
there's a better way to do this. There has to be a better way to do this. So I quickly discovered that correcting the mid face corrected the nasolabial folds and people didn't look like the Joker anymore. So I was doing
Uh-huh.
that before most people were doing that.
Uh-huh.
And so I think I would just tell myself, don't believe everything that you're told and listen to your gut because God speaks to you through your gut. And when I don't listen to my gut is when I mess up.
Absolutely. And what do you feel like you did right to make you like set yourself up for, is it, I mean, you're clearly a driven person. My guess is you don't give up easily, but tell me
No.
what you're like, keep it up, what is it that
Yeah.
you would have, that you would encourage yourself to do at that
Yeah.
stage and
I
others who
mean,
are starting right now?
I think you start out, I don't think people start out as fearful as we did back then because back then everything was so unknown. I remember I wouldn't even leave. And I had a plastic surgeon in Charlotte tell me, he goes, like with Botox, I said, oh, I can't leave. What if a patient has a problem? I haven't had a vacation in 2 years. And he's like, why worry about that? By the time they can hire a lawyer, it's worn off. And, so I started thinking maybe I don't have to worry. I mean, I think I have to have a healthy worry, but not this unhealthy worry.
Yes.
So we worried a lot about things that we did because we didn't know. And to me,
Hmm.
education and knowledge is freedom. And
Hmm.
so as soon as there started to be some education, anything I could put my hands on, I went to, I listened, I read, I remember my very first conference I went to. And I would just thought it was amazing. And it was a dermatology conference, and they had one small section on aesthetics. And at that point, they decided that they would not let PAs or nurse practitioners in the injection part because it was in Florida, and that was when there was a big push trying to get it to where only core physicians could do it.
Hmm.
And so I had to volunteer to be a model on the stage. And that was the only way because I pitched a fit that I pay the same that the doctors did, and you can't
Yeah.
get me out of the room, and you're letting the PAs for some of these dermatologists come in there, so why can't I? And they said, well, we'll let you be a model and then you can sit in there. So the only way I got to go in was to be a model on the stage, which was probably one of the more traumatizing things I've had happen have my lips injected back in 2000, was it 2004 maybe, on stage, and no numbing, no anything.
Oh no.
Um, they looked horrible, but hey, that's what we thought.
Yeah. And you were
So,
getting in there.
and I got in there. And, so I think you take what you learn, and I tell people all the time, go to as many as you can, because you're going to
Yeah.
become, your tool belt's going to become with full of things from different people. So you don't want to reproduce just one person, because you're going to be a lot of different people. And
Hmm.
I think one of the people that really changed the way I viewed injecting and viewed conferences and stuff was Arthur Swift. And,
Uh-huh.
and seeing him, that was just like, I was like a pig in mud. I'm just like, this is the greatest thing ever. Keep talking, keep talking. I think,
Uh-huh.
I think I love you, so
Will you marry me?
at least let me shadow you for the rest of your life, but I think that we were so hungry to learn something, and seeing somebody who truly, he and Kent Remington, who's hilarious, were, back when they were doing the blueprint, it was just
Uh-huh.
education that we just didn't have. And I just clung to anything that I could like that. And Leslie, back in the day when she started doing, she was so forward thinking with her art derma technique and stuff. And so,
Hmm.
getting training with her. I mean, anybody that was doing training, it was so new to me. So that's it. I grabbed hold to anything I could find.
That's incredible. So I always ask my podcast guests, what, this is a silly question, but I must know, what at this stage in your life and career would you say that you would want your theme song to be?
Oh my goodness. Let me think. Hit me with your best shot.
Yes.
um, I don't know. That's a tough one to ask. Let me see, I'm on my way out, so I'm trying to think of exit songs.
I think Hit Me With Your Best Shot is the
Yeah,
best exit song ever.
yeah. So, I mean, because we've through this 25 years, there've been lots of shots. So I think that would probably be mine.
I love it. I love it. So what's before I appreciate all the time you've given me today, Grace. Tell me what is most exciting you? I mean, you see your exit, you see the door that you want to go through, but my guess is you'll never be able to completely unplug from this industry. It's kind of in
No.
your blood.
Yeah.
So what excites you about like the future of the industry right now?
Well, I think there are a lot of exciting things, like I said, coming down the pipe, with in the regenerative market, and I really am excited about all of that. I will always, as long as I'm capable and able and have even just a little bit of wits about me, I'll still try to stay in the training. And I'm 62. I still have a few years left in me, but I'm on this end of the tunnel instead of the beginning of it.
Yeah.
I see the light brightly. Um, and that's a mixed bag too. I mean, it's exciting, but at the same token, it's a little bit sad. But
Uh-huh.
I look at what's going on too. And I mean, so many of us that are my age or older,
Hmm.
it's almost, I've laughed with a couple of them. We feel like we've been put out to pasture.
Uh,
One of the companies sent out a survey, and one of the questions on there was, tell us the names of 3 up and coming injectors that we need to know about. And I'm like, what's wrong with still using injectors that have years and years of experience and are seasoned? Why does it have to be the young insta-famous person that
hmm.
you want to use as your trainers? Because oftentimes they're not experienced enough to even be doing it. And
Hmm.
so hopefully experience will still win out, and I'll be able to still do that. But it's
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I hope it will too, because it should. I mean,
yeah,
you've put so much time into this, and I've spoken, and I'm friends with a lot of folks that are kind of in your position, and it
yeah,
makes me mad because it's
yeah.
not right. You have, yes, there is definitely room for up and comers. There has to be,
Right,
in
right.
a
Or then
living
it dies
industry.
because we all leave and they're left with nobody. But I do believe that these people that are coming in as new trainers need to work with some of the seasoned trainers for
Yes.
a year under a mentorship where we go to their trainings and we help them and watch them, and we're there to make sure that they're learning the correct way. And I'm not saying that my way is the correct way, but I do think that, it's worked for me. And I think there are other amazing injectors out there that aren't being used for trainings as much as they used to be.
Yes.
They used to be the up and comings and the big ones always used. And it's become so much celebrity involved in it now that I think people just want to be seen and don't really care about the quality as much anymore. And you got to find those people that care about the quality.
That's right. The people that absolutely care about their outcomes, the quality. And my guess is those people would welcome with open arms the ability to be directly mentored by people like you have been in the industry for the last 20 years. Yeah. Those are the ones. Those are the golden ones, and man, I would love to do that. Okay, my wheels are spinning on my head, in my mind.
They do a show called The Golden Girls.
Yeah, the Golden. I've already got 3 of the 4, like in my head instantly. Do you want to be Rue McClanahan or do you want to be Betty White?
I'll take Betty White all day long.
Yeah. Me too. Someone told me I was a Dorothy once, and I was just like, really?
No, you're not a Dorothy.
I didn't think so either, but
she's a very high-E personality.
Yes, exactly. Well, Grace, thank you so much for your time. Tell me where people can find you, follow you on Instagram, and then find your businesses and your websites and all of that.
So they can find me on Instagram at ACT_aesthetic training. Our company's aesthetic consulting and training, so hence the ACT comes from that. DMing me there is really the best way to get me. I always tell people, if you send me an email, you have to DM me to tell me you sent me an email. Our clinic is vitalityantiagingcenter.com. And so you can go there. We have the aesthetictraining.com. It's ACT Aesthetic Training website as well, where they can find us. And we have all kinds of exciting courses coming up, cadaver course, an ultrasound course with Steve Weiner. We have Steven Soar coming to do a functional medicine course, which will be amazing. He's done one here before. We're working to get Rebecca Gardell back out of Sweden. So, and then we do one-on-one trainings at all levels, from beginners all the way up to the most advanced. And we do a 12-month mentorship program as well here. So we offer all levels and all kinds of things. So check us out.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Grace.
Thank you. I'm humbled that you asked me to do this.
I'm humbled that you accepted.
Oh, no, I'm happy to. I said, it's always fun to sit and chat about stuff like this.
Yes. And now that I've seen your face, I want to keep seeing it. So we'll have to keep in touch.
Good. Yes, absolutely. And good luck with your new job and with all of these new endeavors. Is exciting.
It's so exciting. And I thank you for the support. And I can't wait to see you soon somewhere out there.
I'll see you. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.